let's see. I think we have some questions here. Let's take some questions. On commercial version, how do I change the channel spacing from 12.5 to other spacing for ham freaks? Or is it just stuck on 12.5 in software, changed in other settings, but still shows 12.5? Interesting. Yeah, great question. So you should be able to use that for the ham spacing as well, as long as it's on a ham frequency. Make sure you're on a ham frequency, and it should allow you to do that. I don't have a ton of experience. Usually I mess around in the amateur side of it. I'm pretty sure it will do that. So if you have trouble with it, definitely give us a call, 816-532-8451. Ask for one of our techs. They will be able to help you with that for sure, because you should be able to do what you're doing there. Let's see. Just wondering, are there any in-person or classes in LA? I know nothing programming the DMR. Yeah, great question. So there are definitely probably some classes in your area. Have a look at the arrl.net. They're a great resource for a lot of this information. We're looking to maybe even do some in-person classes in the future. We don't have that set up yet, but we'd love to do something like that. Right now, we just do the live streams and the online classes, but we'd be more than willing to help you. But definitely check out your local area. I'm sure there's some local clubs there that have some information. We'll be happy to teach you stuff as well. You could also have a look at Bridgecom University. It's a course with over 100 videos in it that walk you through step-by-step programming DMR, just about everything you need to know. So a lot of good resources for you, so you're definitely not left in the dark. Let's see. Bob, is there a way to search for talk groups in the CPS? Yeah, I wish. That would be an awesome feature if they ever add that. To my knowledge, there is not. I do want to show you something if I can remember how to do it real quick. If we're on a channel here like this repeater, and I hold down, I think it's 0. There we go. I can actually input an ID. So let's say 9990. I can key that up, and I'll get on the parrot. Testing 1, 2, 3, W3AMG. Okay, now I may have to disconnect, and I don't know if I'm on the right time slot for that, but you get the idea. You can just punch in that talk group, and you can key it up straight away, and you're talking to it. So if you're on a local repeater, probably the best way is to your popular talk groups. Just write down what number they are. Obviously, the plug and play, the whole idea is you can easily scroll through everything. But if you're using a local repeater, that will get cumbersome to have 800 different channels for each repeater. So this is definitely the way to do it if you're going to add a lot of repeaters too. Okay, let's see. Eric, why can't we see code plug listing in alphabetical order instead of numerical order? Okay, I assume you mean, that is a good question. I believe there might be a way to do it, to set it up. I don't think you can change how it orders it. Probably if numbers are in front, they're going to come first, so just whatever's in front of it. But that's a good question. Maybe someone in the comments has more information on that. I've never messed around with it very much, but that would be handy if there's a better way to sort things. So definitely help Eric out. Let's find out. Let's see. Does the radio have MDC and or QC2 encode/decode? Yeah, that's a great question. It's a little bit over my head and what I know, but I can certainly help you get that information. Give us a call, 816-532-8451. One of our techs will be more than happy to help you out with that. I am unsure on that, but we can definitely provide you that information. Awesome. Let's see. Matt, can the 878 be programmed for 2 different networks, TGIF and Brandmeister? Absolutely. Great question. You can totally do that. We even have some videos that go over doing that. You can set it up for either or. I believe there's even a way to do them at the same time, but that can get pretty complicated and technical. So definitely check that out. It's real simple to do. You can set it up for Brandmeister or TGIF, whatever you prefer. And it's pretty easy to switch back and forth as well. Awesome. Let's do some more questions here. We got the giveaway. It will be drawn at 11:30 Central Time. So coming up here in a few more minutes, we'll take some questions, and then after that, we'll draw the winner. Let's see. Look for another question here. Here we go. I see a question. Jameson Cook. What is the difference in single versus dual slot in the monitor? So when you're monitoring, the difference between single and dual slot, basically a single time slot, the repeater can have two different things on two different time slots. And I apologize, just getting over a cold, so sinuses are still doing weird things. If you have single time slot monitoring, you'll just be monitoring one thing. So you might have a repeater that has Brandmeister on one time slot and then just local activity on the other time slot. Dual time slot monitoring will actually monitor both of those at the same time. So if you're wanting to monitor, most likely you want to do dual slot. Okay, let's see, more questions here, awesome. How do you manage switching between time slots on a repeater? Some groups on one time slot and other groups on the other time slot. Yeah, that's a good question. So typically you don't really do that on the fly. You set it up. So I suppose in this case, there's only two time slots. So if you wanted to have that capability on the fly, you just create two channels, you know, KCI repeater TS1, KCI repeater TS2. That will be an easy way to easily use it on the repeater. Most everything, from my experience, you typically just stick with one time slot with what you're doing. It's a little bit rare in this case. There's a couple for if you're wanting to use that parrot. But generally you don't. Generally that's not a bridge you have to cross, but if you did, that's the way to do it. Here we go. What's the difference between the AT878 version 1 and version 2? So the UV1 and the UV2. Great question. Yeah, so the original 878 Plus, it was an awesome radio. There's two major differences that it doesn't have, which makes, especially if you're buying a new radio, definitely worthwhile going for this one. Although I don't know if you can even get the other anymore, but even if you could, definitely your money will be better spent here. It doesn't do all the APRS, it just does APRS transmit. This also receives. So if you ever get into APRS, it's kind of a big deal, so you want to have the newer APRS. But more importantly, at least for me, was the much, much larger digital contact list. The old radio could only do 200,000 on the digital contact list, and the database out there worldwide has already grown to over 200,000. This one can do 500,000. So a lot more, and you're going to be set for years with this radio, whereas the other one is pretty much already out of date. So with this one, there's a big improvement in that list. Definitely watch out for that. No matter what radio you buy, make sure that list is big enough so you don't have to replace your radio very soon. That is a big deal, especially getting into a new radio. You don't want to find out 6 months from now, oh, my radio's out of date, I can't use it anymore. Awesome. Let's see here. Jeremy, will the 868 code plug cross over to the 878 UV3 Plus? Yeah, great question. So the code plugs are not going to just magically cross over, but you can definitely export that data and import most of it into that new radio, or vice versa. You would just basically go up here. We'll show you real quick. You go into your computer and you'll go to Tool, Export, and just export all, or if you just want the channels, export the channels, whatever info you want. And then on that new radio, or vice versa, if you're going from new to old, you go to Tool, Import, click OK, and then import whatever data, if it was all or channel, whatever you exported, into that new radio. You'll get pretty much everything across. Depending on how you do it, you may or may not have trouble getting your zones across, and you're not going to have your optional settings, but all of your vital information will come across. So definitely you can do it, but it's not quite as simple as just saving and then opening that new file. We do have videos that show you how, so definitely check out Bridgecom University. It'll walk you through the entire process of how to do that. That way you don't miss anything and you're successful. Awesome. And I just wanted to remind you guys, folks, if you have questions about anything we talked about here today, if you're interested in getting into DMR, we'd love to help you. We've helped thousands of hams, take their DMR radios from sitting on a shelf unused to actually talking to people around the world with their radio, getting them set up with a plug-and-play package. The radio is no good if you can't use it. So we'd love to help you with it if you're having trouble. We'll help you work through it, whatever you need. We're here for you. So definitely give us a call, 816-532-8451. If you want to reach me directly, you can. That number is 636-465-6023. Don't always give that out, but if you do have questions for me directly, you can reach me. Now, I'm not the most technical guy, so definitely call our tech guys if you have technical questions. But if you need help with something getting set up, I'd love to help you with that. And we're here for you. Obviously, you can ask for me too. But there's a lot of great guys that'll help you. So can I get the, WB2DX, can I get the 878 UV2 pre-programmed for my area? Great question. So absolutely, with the plug-and-play package, we actually do all the programming for the Brandmeister side of things for you. We'll program in your local statewide talk group. We'll program in, depending on what code plug you get, if you get the standard, super, or ultra, we'll program up to 800 different talk groups around the country and the world, so you'll be set for talking to people just about anywhere. Now for local repeaters that don't go through the SkyBridge, unfortunately we really have no way to test that. So we just provide you with all the information on how to add them like we did today. But for everything that goes through the SkyBridge, we will totally do that for you. In fact, with that plug and play, if you go with the Ultra Code plug, we even give you options to pick some talk groups yourself if they're not already in there. If you want to add some, just say, hey, I want to add a couple extra talk groups, we'll do it for you. Is color code the equivalent of CT/CSS on FM for DMR? Nathan asks. Great question. Absolutely, in terms of usability, that is totally the best way to think about it. That's how I think about it. In terms of the technical side of how it works, not quite. But for usability's sake, totally, absolutely. Let's see. Here's a question. There are DMR Brandmeister repeaters that do not specify a time slot. Can we use both? Possibly. You can certainly try it if there's no information out there, see what works. Generally, there is some information out there somewhere. Probably you'll figure out what works after trying it. I generally like to look for that information, but if there's none out there, just give it a shot. Let's see. Here's a question. John asks, will the programming software be updated to use an Excel spreadsheet so that you can pull over your channels from other software such as Yaesu? Well, actually, it already works that way, absolutely. So when you export, so if you go to Tool and then Export in your software, we'll switch this over here so you can see it. You go to Tool and then Export. Even if you have a totally blank radio, you can go up here, read from your radio, and then export all. Export that information. It will export it into a CSV, which you can open in Excel, and you have that Excel format. So if you had a different kind of radio, you could literally take all of that information and copy it over into that sheet. Obviously, there's probably some differences on how they organize everything, but that's the great part about that Excel sheet. You can easily just, one column at a time. There's usually only 10 to 20 columns. You can copy that information, plop it into the correct column, and you're all set. You then just re-import that into the radio, and you're good to go. So you can totally do that. Absolutely. Yeah, that would be frustrating if there's no way to do that. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you learned something from today's video. If you did, be sure to hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell next to it to make sure you don't miss out on any more great content. That's all I have for you today. I'm Cody, W3AMG 73.